Hey everybody, welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. It has been it's been a half miserable weekend for me. Anyways, I'm one of your three co-hosts. I'm Ted. Above me is my bomb-making co-host Drew. To his screen left is our other co-host Christopher Gates. Go to Vikings Report or go to Purple Plain Forums. Go to Daily Norseman. And the Vikings, for 3.5 quarters, channeled their inner Ohio State against Michigan yesterday, and it looked like they were going to get blown out at home against the Arizona Cardinals. But for the last, half a quarter or whatever, they figured it out and pulled out a stunning 23-22 victory. Put that thing away. I'm serious, Drew. I'm not in the mood for it today. Honestly, I'm seriously not. And they beat the Arizona Cardinals 23-22. I don't know. I can't explain what I saw other than the Vikings won. And I'm surprised Jonathan Gannon did not go for it at the end and try and score a touchdown as opposed to kicking a field goal. But hey, it worked out for the Vikings' favor. Chris.
Absolutely. I thought for sure he was going to go for it there. I mean, that if they hadn't gotten such a big gain on third down, I think the field goal would have been the obvious call, but they got to within the 5-yard line. And, I'm, like you said, I'm absolutely stunned that they didn't go for it there, because even if you don't make it, you still make the Vikings go 96 or 97 yards. But they decided to kick the field goal, and then Sam Darnold put together what might have been his best drive as the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. And, they got themselves into position to win the ball game. I mean, Aaron Jones gets some redemption after coughing one up inside the red zone early in the game, and he should have had an earlier touchdown catch, but I mean, that would have been a tough catch. But, this team just finds a way, I guess. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they keep doing it.
Drew, would you have gone for the touchdown there if you were Jonathan Gannon, or were you good with him? Just not even as a Vikings fan or kicking a field goal.
First off, welcome in, everybody. We won again.
Yeah.
Feels good to win. Can I just one time? Can I?
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Box. Start rolling.
I am glad they didn't go for it. I think if they're 3-8 or 1-10, they go for it, but they're 6-5. That was the percentage right call. When you're 6-5, you got to make the Vikings drive the field and beat you. So I understand. I was hoping they didn't go for it and kick the field goal, because if they went for it and scored, the game was over. That drive was the game. If we held them to a field goal, we had one shot and it rolled in. It worked out exactly how we thought. But they're going to make the Vikings drive the field to beat them. That's probably the right call. But I think if they have a losing record, they totally go for that. But they were at 6-5. They're still in the hunt for the playoff thing. So I think they played the law of averages, and I'm glad they did, because the way things went today, they probably score on a tipped pass off somebody's helmet and get a cheap touchdown. But man, what a game. I didn't feel good about this one. Hats off to the Cardinals. They played a hell of a game. They played a great 57-minute game, Chris. Then the last 3 minutes, they kind of busted all the hell. But they probably, as much as the Vikings, we all want to see them win. I was going to start the show with, hey, Cardinals were a better team today. Cardinals won because they did this better. They did this better. Our three keys: don't let Murray run. Don't let McBride catch a bunch of passes, Chris. And I think the other one was, Ted called that missed field goal. The other one was stop their running game. So we did the preview, Ted. We had them as long as we control. We didn't control any of those. We happened to squeak out the win. Vikings get the win. I'm stoked about it because, well, hell, it's been a great 24 hours of football for me. You know what I mean?
No, I really don't.
So yeah, I'm glad they didn't do it, but the Vikings let them hang around. Vikings made a lot of mistakes today, but I don't know. There's a lot to chew on with this one. What kind of team we really have, guys?
Yeah, I'm looking at the ESPN website of the game with 4 minutes and 17 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
the Cardinals were at 2nd and 3 at the Minnesota 14. Their win probability was 92.5%.
Not high enough.
Not high enough. Not high enough.
For as good as Murray's been in this league, he has a tendency to finish that game exactly how he finished it. I've seen him.
Yeah, he does. And one of the things that frustrated me about the whole game, and Drew, you and I were kind of chatting throughout the game. one of the things that frustrated me, I thought Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores were completely outcoached.
Completely.
The entire first half. I would argue probably the first 3 quarters for the most part.
There's no argument about that at all.
No,
Chris,
they absolutely
what
were.
are your thoughts on that?
No, they absolutely were. I mean, whenever the Cardinals needed to play, they made it. There were a few times where Darnold just got wrecked by guys who went in completely untouched, like they'd never seen a blitz before. And those about probably the first 3 quarters, they just looked like they hadn't even prepared for this one. I mean, you win 3 straight on the road, and then you come back home. This game just had a weird vibe about it all day long. I mean, the crowd at US Bank Stadium was not as insane as I thought they were going to be. I mean, this is the first Vikings home game in like a month, and it was like church in there for the first quarter and a half or so. It just wasn't. But they turned it around when they needed to turn it around, and they're sitting at 10-2 right now. This is the second time this year they've won 5 in a row.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't get was the crowd. We talked about this in the preview, and we kind of thought the crowd after 3 straight road games and not being home for over a month. I'd have to look at the last
Let me
time
get I'll get the dates. Yeah.
Ted, you got to give him something to cheer for. I mean, my God.
But even at the start of the game, it just seemed quieter than I expected after not having a home game for over a month. And then, the pace of the game was slow, and it didn't really pick up. And I don't know, and it just got quieter and quieter. And then deservedly, the Vikings, the Boo Birds came out when the Vikings were not playing. Playing as they should have. They
got booed off the field at halftime, I think.
And they should have. You pay good money to go watch your home team play, and they stink. You deserve to get booed, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, be careful. There's somebody's going to say you're not a real fan. Critical about. I watch it on volume 0, so I don't know what's going on with the crowd.
What do you got, Chris?
Ted, you were right. That game against the Colts was on November 3rd. Today is December 1st. So, basically a month since this team's been at US Bank Stadium. I thought it would have been just crazy in there, but no, it wasn't. I don't understand why.
Jay Johnson says, Ted, I know the issue with this team. When you give out 150 game balls every game, it is equal to everyone gets a trophy and makes players soft. I don't know about that, Jay. I mean, I get it. I mean, not everybody's a fan of Kevin O'Connell's kind of kumbaya approach, as people call it, or players coach, whatever the phrases you want to use. I think it's a very different culture than Mike Zimmer had. I get that. But I think it's an environment that players have embraced and players have responded to. Freebird, our good friend, AJ says, look, guys, I've said it all season. This team is different. This team is special. We stood together and pulled out a win when we needed it. Be at your best when your best is retired. I think maybe he says required. Maybe he means that. I don't know. Drew, you've kind of been critical of KOC at times, and today I think you were dead right. You've said at times this team does not come to play until they're down 2 scores. This team gets out coached at times, and that was on full display today for 3 quarters being out coached, and then when were they down 19-6? I think that was late in the 3rd quarter when they decided to start playing football.
It was we did talk during the game, and I said, look, it's not a coincidence. We go down 19-6, all of a sudden we storm the field. And again, I'll say it again, like a lot of you in the chat have said, why can't we play with that kind of urgency and that play calling why do we have to wait to get down double digits? And it's not a lucky coincidence. We've been watching this for 3 years. Why does it have to? It's a pattern with KOC. Keep it even. Oh shit, we're down 14. Let's start playing you got to play that way from the get-go. Come on, man. Make it easy on yourself. Or I call it the Corky Caprara method. I used to work for a guy named Corky, and he finally admitted one day, I like to do things a difficult way because it makes me feel better when I accomplish them. That's what he told me. I like to do things not the easy way. Not building the house the easy way. We like to have a bunch of glitches and problems because that way when the house gets built, we can go have a beer and say, man, we really beat the odds this time. I mean, that's what it feels like. It feels like he's got a little quirky going on. Say, work smart, not hard, but come on, dude. You got these games that get frustrating sometimes, and I don't think there's really any need to. And I know it's execution. We've had the argument, you guys and me, execution and play calling, but there was no adjusting in that first half. He kept running out the same freaking plays, the same thing over and over and over. The Vikings got it going when it was 19-6. That's the offense for the rest of the game. That's what we saw. The Vikings were more aggressive. They played. Why do you have to get down by 13 to play good, Dad? I don't get it.
Two things. First, Todd Taylor, thank you, $5 donation. Vikings Report Rewind, because Vikings flaws, this team does not quit, and because we never hired Matt Eberflus. that's very true. And look, the Vikings, say what you want, Vikings clock management was way better than what the Bears did at the end of their game on Thanksgiving.
It sure was.
No, the Vikings kept it close and won, Ted. I'm not trying to be a downer on that. Why? It doesn't need to be.
You're absolutely right. Look, I've tried to defend KOC against your comments, but there was really, if you can turn it on halfway through the third quarter and the fourth quarter, whenever it was the Vikings scored their first touchdown and then ended up winning the game, why can't they do it in the first quarter and second quarter and build a lead and then keep building on the lead and put your foot on the proverbial throat of your opponent? That's a valid question. I don't know. And Corey Doolittle says they had that full game fire and they got the first few games of the season lately. It's not until we get the oh crap moment. And Corey's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And I want to go up. There's a good comment by Chris Young. He says, "What about the defense not getting set on multiple plays?" There was a game. There was a play. I think it was a draw play on 3rd and 8 late in the game.
Yep.
And
Redmond was looking towards the sideline.
Yeah, it looked like the Vikings were going to get off the field. And it looked like it was a very kind of the pivotal moment of the game. And the Vikings really weren't set. They were kind of looking around, and the Cardinals came up the line, snapped the ball, and they didn't give it to James Conner. They gave it to their backup running back. Went cut through the Vikings defense, got a first down, and you thought, oh my God, that was the play right there that got them off the field, got the offense back. The Vikings I think they had just come off the field and scored a touchdown, and you thought, man, that was it right there. That felt like a backbreaker moment,
right?
And I had said both KOC and Flores had been Northeast. Maybe we need to get KOC and Ted's golf cart. No, we don't. That's funny, but no, we don't. Put Ryan Day in my golf cart.
The great Northfield.
Put Ryan Day in my golf cart, but no. It just felt like both O'Connell and Flores were 2 or 3 plays behind the Cardinals staff for 2.5 quarters. And I put that out on X, and I got pushback on it. And people were saying, yeah, KOC, but not Flores. And my retort was, look, the time of possession was 2-1. The amount of plays were 2-1 in favor of Arizona's offense, the Vikings offense, Chris. And I don't see how anybody thought, yeah, okay, Arizona was held to field goals, but how about you stop the Arizona offense, get a 3 and out, stop them on their side of the 50, not in the red zone. It was ridiculous, I thought.
They're in the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the numbers, it doesn't look like a game that Minnesota should have won. I mean, Minnesota was 1 out of 8 on 3rd down. They got outgained 406 to 273. The Cardinals had the ball for almost 36 minutes to just 24 for Minnesota. But, they kept pushing into the red zone, and, whatever it was, it happened in the red zone, except for the one touchdown pass to Marvin Harrison Jr. They kept turning them back, and, you just need to have a chance at the end there. And the defense did enough to give them a chance, and Sam Darnold marched them down the field, and they pulled this thing out. I mean, we've had games like this where the Vikings have dominated on the stat sheet and come out on the wrong end. So I'm not going to complain about one like this where they kind of turn that around a little bit.
Another solid friend of the show, Anthony Tolson, gives us $4.99. Appreciate you, Anthony. 24th one-score game since the beginning of 2022, and look what happens when you get Murray flustered. He threw 2 bad interceptions. Jonathan Grenard on that last drive the Cardinals had, forced a fumble and put them in second and basically unmanageable. That was it was a great last sequence for the Cardinals. Go ahead, Drew.
You want two things. You want to know when I was most excited about thinking the Vikings are going to win this game? And I'm not being a smartass. I'm being serious because you watch this team enough, you know how it gets your gut. You know how you know what you're watching. You know the feel of the team. You know their character. You know the timeline that they're on. When Harrison caught that touchdown, my first thought was, all right, we're going to win this game. Now they got it. Now they got it to us the stage. I like to see the offense play. I was most confident when we went down 19-6. Why should it be like that? Because that's what this team does. They play really well when they're behind. It shouldn't be like that. And another thing, go back and look at our preview. We did. The Cardinals had a great game plan today. Let's face it. They executed a great game plan. They did everything today they couldn't do against Seattle. We talked about that. They couldn't run the ball, 49 yards on the ground. Mm-hmm. They couldn't. They made mistakes throwing turnovers in there, but they got McBride a bunch of passes again. I think he caught 12 again. He had 12 last week.
Did 12 for 96.
And if they run the ball and get Murray running, Ted, we thought that's their game plan. That's what they want to do. That's the blueprint was set. Seattle played it perfectly. We didn't play it anywhere near that.
No.
And Arizona, they were prepared. They had a good game plan. They pissed the game away. Arizona did. They probably should have won that game. But the defense of Minnesota really, they had their problems. They did the bend but don't break. But I don't know. Overall, I still think they're bailing out the offense. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like the offense should be helping them a little more. I mean,
no, you're not wrong. They absolutely are.
I mean, defense didn't play well today. We gave up a lot of rushing yards. What did we give up today? We usually give up 74. We gave up like 150.
They had 154.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what twice. I don't know math, Ted. That's twice as much almost.
Yeah, I mean they were averaging only 74 yards a game, I think, coming
something like that. Yeah.
So the Cards had a good game plan. They just couldn't convert this. And I'm not talking boobies. When I do this, you might think boobies. I do.
I was. Yeah.
They absolutely can't convert the crucial set of that's why they're 6-6.
Crucial handfuls.
Yeah.
Vikings won. Vikings won the game, figured out how to get. But I felt most confident when Harrison caught that TD. I go, all right, now we're going to be in shape. And it shouldn't be that way. We should be crushing some of these teams, Ted, crushing them. Let's talk about Darnold before we forget about to talk about him. Let's talk about
Darnold, it was a kind of a tale of two halves for Sam Darnold. I thought, we were talking about this in the first half. He was not recognizing the blitz or the blitzer. And somebody earlier in the comments, and I wanted to bring this up, said the O-line was just absolute trash. I don't think it was as much on the O-line. I think it was a lot of it on Darnold not recognizing who the free guy was going to be, and either not adjusting the blocking scheme, and this is a good question right here. Do the Vikes not have any hot routes built in their schemes when there are blitzes? It sure doesn't look that way.
That's a prize right there. Give that guy.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was leading into. TJ Shrevford, that's a prize worthy right there. And hell of a prize. All you got to do is make a great comment and make a comment. We're gonna spin a wheel at the end of the show. TJ, just send your information to get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report, Drew and Ted at gmail.com, and she'll send you a link to our prize vault. And by the way, all the donations or all the money that you send us go right back to getting prizes for the prize vault.
That's a great comment, Ted.
Yeah, it was. And I just thought it was more Darnold not recognizing who the free guy was and calling an audible to the hot route. And so I kind of don't really blame the O-line for all the sacks because they all came on blitzes. I don't think it really was an offensive lineman getting beat one-on-one. It felt like a free guy coming that didn't get picked up because they weren't accounted for. Am I wrong on that, guys?
No, I mean, there were some of those hits that Darnold took today. I know that Anthony Tollison just pointed out the one. I can't remember when it was, but there was some dude looked like he got about a 15-yard run at Darnold, just came in completely untouched and got just blasted. But I don't know what it was about their complete inability to pick up anything resembling a blitz for the most part this afternoon. I mean, they had a few at the end on that last drive that they protected pretty well on, but early on, I don't know what the issue was, because usually this team doesn't get beat that badly in those situations.
All right,
Couple
so
things.
Brandel did miss one. All right, we'll give one to Brandel, but the others were on the blitzers. Okay, Drew, go ahead.
The Cardinals, blitzing is blitzing. The Cardinals are one of the best disguised blitzing teams that I've seen. You look at some of those replays. They had 3 guys in the line of scrimmage and 7 ended up coming, but you didn't see it. They don't crowd the line and show you blitz. A lot of those blitzes, Ted, the middle linebacker and the weak side guy were way back, like they were going to cover. And then when they snapped it, they started hauling ass towards the line of scrimmage. They weren't at the line of scrimmage when they started. So a lot of those were disguised where Darnold didn't think it was coming. And the running backs didn't think it was coming. I'm not making an excuse. Your coaches have to adjust to that. And it seemed like we didn't adjust to that. But a lot of those blitzes were very well disguised by the Cardinals, exceptionally well disguised. I didn't see them. And I'm not a football knowledge guy, but another thing we got to talk about, you can't blame the O-line when the quarterback holds it too long. Darnold has plenty of time to throw the ball. What the hell is he holding that ball an extra 2 seconds for? And if it's not there, throw it away. He holds the ball a long time, Ted.
It felt like, at least in the first half and into the second half, Darnold was locking in on a guy and just not pulling the trigger. I don't know if the guy was covered. I don't know. But yeah, and I don't know what caused him to change. And discussing access, they attacked our weakness. We didn't adjust until the TD drive. That's true. But I don't know what caused Sam to change. But when he did change, he figured it out. And the last 20, 25 minutes of the game, Sam Darnold was lights out, man. And give credit to him. I think that was I heard on the announcer say that was the biggest comeback of Sam Darnold's career. And got it figured out. So credit to him for that, and bringing the Vikings all the way back for the win. But Drew, I agree with you. This team is too talented to have to be able to come back from that kind of deficit against a team that was 6-5 coming in and reeling after that loss last week against Seattle, I think it was.
I think getting to that point was easier for Darnold at USC, and it's been a tough battle in the pros to get to. When he started playing really well, you got to get him there early, Ted. You got to get him into that. He's a groove player, man. He's a guy that gets the confidence going, and his game picks up, his body language picks up, his leadership picks up. You can't flounder around with Darnold. You need to get him set like that early in the game and not have him to trudge his feet to get to that point.
Nicholas Rousson says even the talking heads were pointing out that Darnold was going through his progression, but the throws weren't there. Greg Olson was saying that, and there were some throws that I agree with, but some throws it looked like he was locking in on one dude like a laser, and he wasn't taking his eyes off whoever that receiver was, whether it's Jefferson or Addison or whoever it was downfield. He was looking for a deep shot, and that deep shot wasn't there, and he was waiting for that guy to come open, and that receiver wasn't coming open, and by then the pocket was collapsing, and he didn't have an escape route, where in the second half he was able to get out and make yards and run with the ball or whatever. So I don't know. A
lot of those passes though, Chris, he's got time to throw it. He's got in the NFL, you don't get 7 seconds every time. Throw that ball.
No.
Throw.
I agree. Some of them he had time to get rid of it, but there were a few where he was, he was getting to the top of his drop and there was nothing there, and he didn't have anywhere to go with it or any escape route or anything like that. So I don't know if that's scheme, but you're talking about the way the Cardinals are bringing their blitzes. It's basically the opposite of the Flores scheme. Flores, we put 6 or 7 or 8 guys up on the line of scrimmage, and then half of them bail out and go and play coverage. Like you said, Arizona was put like 3 guys up on the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden there were 6 or 7 rushers. Right. I mean, I don't know if that's something the Vikings hadn't really looked into or prepared for, but it might be more difficult to see it come that way than it is with the Flores here. We're going to act like we're bringing 6 or 7 guys, and then we're just not going to.
Chuckle it when he missed Naylor first half, big time on the end zone. Still sail that baby away like Sticks.
Come sail away.
That's good. That's a good song. That's a good song by Stick. That
Sure
we weren't wrong about those Cardinals running their offense through the tight ends, were we?
not one
No.
bit. No,
Their wide receivers are second tier compared to their tight ends. Their tight ends, that's their offense, man.
Yep.
They love that play. All those plays.
So what do we make? What do we make of this? They're 10-2. They're going to the playoffs. I mean, 10 wins is going to get you in.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't. How far do you see them going now at this point, Drew? I mean, I just don't know what to make.
It seems like we play better against better teams. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, we lost to Detroit by 3 points or something, Chris? Ted? It was
2.
2 points. We played, but we were in it the whole way. As a matter of fact, we probably should have won that game. We
should have won that game.
Down, but
yeah.
You can't toy around. You can toy around with Jacksonville and Indianapolis and Tennessee and even the Cardinals to a point. Although I think the Cardinals are better than 6-6, but all those teams have a flaw percentage. They're going to screw something up, just like the Cardinals did today. Toward the end of the game, I felt it counting. You just know they're going to do it compared to other teams like Buffalo. They're not going to give you, I just don't. I don't know. It feels like it's going to come back to bite us. I'd like to see a little bit more dominance and a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe we're Viking fans, so every game's got to be up in the air, make it exciting. I don't know what it is, but we're going to make the playoffs, and I'm going to say this more often than not, Ted, Chris, when you're playing with fire, the burn is coming in the playoffs. If you're just sneaking wins by to get there and stuff, we know what happened a couple years ago. I think this team is a lot better. They have a lot more character. They're a lot more mentally tough than the 2022 team. We're kind of smoke and mirrors back then. But you can't, Ted, you can't take 2.5 quarters off and expect to beat playoff teams. You got to play more of a complete game. So I'm not going to, you never complain. A win is a win, even if it's hanging off the ass of a cricket. You're going to take the win. But these games are going to get, when you start working towards playoff times, you got to tell Aaron Jones,
hold on to the damn ball.
Fumbling. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
That was my next question. Chris, what do you think about Vikings and what do you make of Aaron Jones? I like the move that after his second fumble.
They put Cam Akers in
after his second fumble.
Yeah. I mean, he was lucky. He was lucky on the first one that Brian O'Neill was right there and just basically flopped on it to make sure that the Cardinals didn't get it. But going back to where what they're gonna do in the postseason. I mean, unless they completely fall apart, they're gonna wind up playing a road game against either whoever wins the NFC West or whoever wins the NFC South. None of those teams are particularly good. It looked like Atlanta had the South wrapped up for a while, but now Kirk Cousins keeps throwing balls to dudes that aren't on his team, which is not ideal for them. So, I mean, the West and the South are not particularly good. I mean, the top two teams in the NFC are Detroit and Philadelphia. This team's already gone toe-to-toe with Detroit, and if they keep winning, that game in Week 18 is going to wind up meaning something. So we'll see how that goes, too. But, Drew talked about this, and we've talked about this with guys like Jalen Naylor. When you screw up, when you drop passes, or when you fumble, something should happen. And I know that Aaron Jones has been one of the big parts of the Minnesota offense this year, but you put the ball on the ground twice in your first 3 or 4 or however many it was touches, you got to sit for a while. And you watch Cam Akers. I mean, even Ty Chandler got a couple of carries in there after the Jones fumble. Yeah. But Jones finally got it together. He caught the game-winning touchdown pass, and I hope he gets all the fumbling and junk like that out of his system now, because can't have that in the postseason.
No, absolutely not. And I just wonder if this is now as much of a mental thing as it is a physical thing with Aaron Jones, Drew. Because fumbling has never really been an issue with him until this year, has it?
He fumbled a few times with the Packers, but he had more. somebody told me today, God, Jones has to stop fumbling. He looks like Adrian Peterson. But Peterson would put up 210. That's the difference. I mean, It's like Chris Carter. Chris Carter dropped a pass. You can't bitch about that. Chris Carter,
no.
Some guys have a lot of credit built up where you can kind of accept fumbling, but it seemed like it should be in his head more because he fumbled that Niner game inside the 5. Then he fumbled a couple weeks ago, didn't he? On a
against
play
the Bears,
against
at the 1 yard line.
You gotta be consistent. To answer your question about the playoffs, Ted, I thought of something as Chris was talking. I think we should put Ruby's a lawyer. She knows about injunctions and stuff like that. To put in a basis injunction or something with the NFL. Maybe we can tell Roger Goodell, start the other team off with 14 points at kickoff. Give them 14. We don't care. That's what we want to be down 14. Because then we can get the Vikings real offense from the beginning of the game. Maybe we could tell Goodell, tell the other team to give them the 14. Then we could come right out of the gate with urgency, drive down the field, make it 14-7, and then tie it up, and then go back into the shell. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know, but everybody's ass puckers in the playoffs. So depends on, like Chris said, who are we going to play? Are we going to be on the road? They're just usually. Looking back at football over 15 years, Ted, inconsistency doesn't get you very far in the playoffs.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, they're going to have to be. They're going to have to be a lot more consistent on offense. But look, hey, they pulled it together.
They won,
and they got the win. And 10-2 is a lot better than 9-3. Which is what they would have been.
We had me and Ted had them at 8-4 after the 12th game.
Okay.
We had him at 8-4. Chris had him at 9-3.
Okay.
Back in May when we do our picks in May, that hung up on the wall here. So we're not bad. We're pretty close with all that. How we had it looking at that point, but 10-2, man.
That's pretty good.
And what Vegas had their over under win total for the betting line
6.5.
6.5.
Vegas got their tits licked more than usual, I must say. They got serious Shakira on that. They were bad on that. 10-2 though. We're it'd be different if we were losing all these games, but we're not. But it's just, I know everybody has the same thought too. We're happy about the win. The win is the win. That's what matters. But man, Chris, why does it have to be 19-6 in the freaking third quarter?
I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, we had those couple wins early in the season where things looked pretty easy. They beat the Niners, they beat the Texans, and everyone was pretty impressed. And now it's back to one-score games and holding out the edge of your seat and whatever else. I don't get why, but as long as they keep winning, it's totally fine.
I just got a text from my Uncle Paulie. Drew, you son of a bitch! You never called me on Thanksgiving. Forget it. Why is number 23 covering Marvin Harrison? I'll throw that one to you guys. To you guys.
Your Uncle Paulie texted you on a notebook?
Yeah. Well, he texts and then I write it down. Otherwise, he says,
okay.
He says I don't text him.
You're gonna say I need one of them notebooks.
I called him the other day. I'm all, Uncle Paulie, how you doing? He said, "Screw you, Scott," my brother, and hung up. This isn't Scott. It's Drew.
Yeah.
Why was 23 covering Marvin Harrison? I have no. Is that the best we have?
Because Stephon Gilmore was on the sideline with a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
We don't have. We better get somebody better than that cover.
Yeah.
No, they tossed a Caleb Evans out on his ass a couple of weeks ago. He's not there anymore. I mean, maybe Dwight McGlothern probably gets an opportunity at some point. I mean,
is
damned if
Cindy
I know.
Doyle related to Jamie Doyle? Is that in the chat right there?
Might be. I don't know.
There's a lot of Doyles, Ted.
And the island of Fabian Moreau, number 23, turned into the 3 Mile Island of Fabian Moreau. That was
There was a meltdown there. Although that one PI he got called for was a screw job. That
one PI he got was bad. That other one was legit. I mean,
that one when he tackled number 17.
Yeah,
that was freaking Chernobyl.
The one he got called for would have been a third down, get off the field. And that was a weak ass call. That was terrible.
And then the one that the Cardinals got called for on TJ Hawks that Greg Olson was whining about. Man, that was legit too. And if nothing else, it was at least a makeup call for the one that shouldn't have been PI on Moreau.
That was a hold. He was holding Hawkins.
Yeah, he was. He was holding his right arm. So,
what play I thought won the game was when the Cards were down there ready to seal the whole game up in a nice big Tupperware bowl from the 70s. That offsides, and they called it illegal procedure. What happened? I didn't have my volume on. It looked like the Vikings jumped off sides. What happened right there?
No,
that kind of saved our ass.
The left guard, I think it was, moved, which caused.
Okay. Thank God.
Yeah. He moved.
Yeah, they did move. They did move first, and I think the play after that was the intentional grounding on Murray, which was just a boneheaded play by him, because that was like a 20-yard loss or something like that.
Yeah, and then they just dumped it off to their tight end to get it down to like the 5 or whatever, and they kicked the field goal.
Yep.
Sure. Oh, this is a good question. Serious question. Do we have a kicking controversy when Riker returns? No. I mean, like I like John Parker Romo. He's filled in admirably, although he did miss a field goal today. But no, this is Will Reichard's job when he comes back. But hats off to John Parker, Gustav, Beauregard, Romo. I mean, he's done a heck of a job. But
I saw Leaky Gravy Balloon open up for the arrhythmia. I've been laughing about that for 3 days. It's the funniest thing Chris has ever said.
But no, this is Reichard's kicking job, guys. I don't think there's a kicking controversy. Do you guys think that?
No,
there shouldn't be.
I mean,
you should be scoring touchdowns and not kicking anyway. I mean, that's just me. Quick kick.
I mean, as soon as the Vikings let Romo go, someone's going to sign him, but they're not going to give up on Will Reichard at this point. I'm not sure if he's going to be ready for next week. He's eligible to come off of IR next week. I don't know if he's going to play this coming week or not, but it's nice to have Romo there if he's not ready to come back.
Do you guys think that the Vikings are learning from these teams that self-implode because they basically suck in the long run? Jacksonville, Cards, Tennessee, Colts, all these games. Do you think they're learning that we can't do this and we can't do this, or this is the Vikings game? Well, what do you guys think? Is this they don't really concern themselves as long as they win? They do play the same way every week, or do you think they actually are learning? We can't keep repeating this pattern of toying around with these teams, and basically we need to get. Does Kevin O'Connell ever think we need to get the urgency in the offense that he calls when they're down double digits? Does that get talked about? Because we've seen it happen so many times. I mean, are the Vikings going to learn their lesson halfway through December and start kicking people's asses 30-10? Like we think. I think everybody thinks we have that in us, right? This show.
I mean, I would like to think so.
I think
chat.
so.
We're not a scrub team. We're one of the best teams in the league, but we shouldn't be 19-6 to the freaking Cardinals. Come on.
I would like to think they would learn from their mistakes. I think they're learning. I think they have learned since O'Connell became the head coach that they're never out of a game.
Yep.
And they're learning how to win.
I'll give you that.
I thought early in the season, when they pantsed the Texans, when they pretty much controlled the game against the Niners,
and Giants,
they had the Packers blown out in the first half, and I don't care what anybody says, they had that game, even though the game was close in the second half against the Packers, they had that game pretty much won.
And the Giants game was over when it started.
And the Giants game, yeah.
I guess I'm getting to that. That's my question. Can we get that Vikings team back before the playoffs start? Can we get those guys back?
Yeah, I think generally, guys, the NFL is more or less, for the most part, a one-score league. I'd like to see more 2-score wins, yeah. But we'll see. Do they have the talent and the ability to win more 2-score games? Yes. Will they? I don't know. As it gets late in their season and teams are fighting for playoff spots. Look, they've got Atlanta next week, who's in the thick of the playoff spot. They got the Bears, who's a divisional opponent. They got the Lions, who's number 1 seed right now. They got the Packers again. These are going to be tough games, man.
Hi, Coach.
I mean, you look at some of these other teams in the league. I mean, you look at Kansas City. I know they've won 2 Super Bowls in a row, and that they're everyone loves what Kansas City does and stuff like that. I mean, last week they needed a last-second field goal to beat Carolina. Black Friday they were playing the Raiders. They needed the Raiders to just implode all over themselves
God, how did
to
they
hold
lose
on to
that
that
game?
win. I mean, uh, I mean, like Ted said, it's a one-score league. I mean, it's becoming more and more rare that you go blowing teams out. I mean, I know we've seen Detroit blow out some bad teams this year, but they needed the Bears to completely implode on Thanksgiving to win. And you're going to play more close games and you're going to play blowouts. And
I know that. And I want to add this. We've won 5 straight, Chris. Is that 5 straight?
Yep. Yeah, it's 5 in a row.
I'm not even exaggerating or BSing anybody. If those 5 games were under Zimmer, we lose 4 of those games we just played. And I feel strongly about that.
Probably. At least
as much as I rip on KOC's play calling, he has the mindset of keeping his guys together. And even though it may be ugly and hanging off the ass of a cow, he gets the win. And that's something Zimmer wouldn't do. He'd piss the game away completely. So I'm going to give KOC that. He could be doing a lot better, but I don't think we win 5 straight if this is under Zimmer. Do you?
No. I can't remember where in the broadcast the guys in the Fox booth said it, but Kevin O'Connell and his record in one-score games, there's only one coach in NFL history, they said, who currently has a better record than Kevin O'Connell in one-score games, and that was some dude by the name of John Madden, who I believe has the highest winning percentage of any coach in NFL history. So, yeah, I would have to go back and look up the numbers if they have a way to break that down one-score games. But that was what the guys in the booth on Fox said, that the only coach with more success in one-score games to this point is John Madden. And I don't know what it is Kevin O'Connell's doing. I mean, you talk about those post-game speeches, but you listen to some of those guys, you tell me they wouldn't commit a homicide for that dude if he asked them. I mean, they would do toward the end of the Zimmer era, I think everyone in the locker room was kind of sick of hearing Mike Zimmer's voice. And we're definitely not at that point with Kevin O'Connell, because those dudes are motivated to play for him in a big way.
Chris, he's got the winning culture going. He's got that.
He does.
He's brought the winning culture going. He's got that. I just don't get that mystery about playing that gentlemanly game during the why. Use the urgency you feel. Use the coaching that you feel when you're down 14 to play the whole. That's all I'm asking. Just do the same thing the whole game. Don't wait till you get down, because that's the only flaw he has. He's built the winning tradition under him. I mean, it kind of fell apart last year, but we got a winning culture here. We got winning players, Cashman, all those guys. They want to win.
Yeah.
And KOC wants to win, and he pumps up his team, and he's a real players coach. But my God, don't go Corky Caprara. I feel better if it's close. And don't just put your foot on the gas and don't take your foot off until you crash.
It'd be nice to have a breather. That's for sure.
Totally. I mean,
the first 4 weeks was very uncharted territory for us as Vikings fans. It'd be nice to have a breather.
And we've seen them do it the first month of the season, Chris. That's why we know they can do it.
They're capable of it. But
let's do it next week. We got Atlanta next week.
Next week.
I don't want to see this 13-10 bullshit in the fourth quarter of Atlanta.
Well, I don't know.
Kicking their asses.
I heard I saw it briefly, but I heard Kirk Cousins had like 4 picks today. So if he plays like that next week,
Atlanta's been falling apart, right? The last month or so. They're not playing very well.
We might have a breather. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Anyway, what the Falcons win or lose?
They lost. The Falcons lost to the Chargers. Yeah, 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions today for Kirk O'Chains.
Yeah, Falcons lost 17-13. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They're now 6-6 on the year.
Wow.
But they're still first place in the NFC South.
Well, Cousins isn't going to take off like the midget was today. So next week we should be able to keep him bottled up a little bit.
I would hope so.
The stupid midget.
Yeah,
I can't stand that. I can't stand Murray. I can't stand him.
Yeah. Yeah. That was another thing. If the Vikings were so close to catching Murray 4 or 5 times today, and he just escaped and got 8, 9, 15, 20 yards. It was aggravating.
I'll be honest. I'm not the officiating fan. The officials, every other play. Seemed like the Vikings were getting held back there, Chris and Ted, 4 or 5 times, wasn't called. Grenard got held like 3 plays, never called. I'm thinking, what do you have to do to get a holding penalty in this league? Come on.
I don't know.
There was a lot of holding going on that the Cards got away with, Ted. I'm just saying. I'm not making.
I think so. Yeah, I think so too. Although I thought the Vikes got a lot more favorable calls today. The penalties were a lot more against Arizona today than they were against Minnesota.
There were.
Well, they had
And I
10
do want to pass
penalties?
this. I pass this along because I just saw it on the social medias here. Sam Darnold, after the Cardinals scored to make it 19-6 with 4:43 left in the third, 12 out of 17 for 156 and 2 touchdowns.
Ted, we got to get him to that point, Ted Glover, in the first quarter.
He's got to start out that way.
Get on the horn,
Hypnotize him
Ted.
into thinking
We know you
he's
have
down 2
connection,
scores.
especially you, Chris. You know people. You know the goddamn arrhythmics. Get on the phone. Get somebody talking to KOC. We need to get Darnold in that mode. Maybe that's the difference that was happening in the Giants, the Houston game, the Niner game. Maybe he was more engaged in the first quarter and getting into that mode earlier. Maybe that's why we kind of ran away with those games 34-7 against the Texans. Read those one more time. I want you to throw those numbers out one more time. After they took the 19-6 lead.
Sam Darnold, after the Cardinals scored to make it 19-6 with 4:43 left in the third, 12 out of 17, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Got to get him there, Ted. Got to get him there earlier.
We do.
Then we'll start rolling people.
We got to get a sports psychologist in there to hypnotize Sam. Like right before he goes out, Sam, look at my stopwatch. It is the end of the third quarter, and you're getting very sleepy. When I snap my fingers, it will be 4 minutes left in the game, and you are down 14-0.
See, but the hypnosis has to work like that one part in Office Space, so that he's just like that all the time.
Hey,
where they like hypnotize him and they don't snap him out of it. Yeah. Just do like that all the time.
Okay. That was Sally Spice. You said leave my boy alone, so I'm done talking about Darnold.
Oh, okay.
Sal said leave him alone. Drew, you're on the edge. And I said, all I need to hear is that from Sal Spice.
Tell Sal I said hi.
Hey, Sal.
All right. Ruby, are you there?
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Good.
Ready to spin the wheel?
Hey,
I'm ready.
What do you think of that game yesterday, Michigan?
Shut up.
I promised
signing off.
that I wouldn't
There we go.
make fun of Ted, so.
All right.
I made fun of him enough in the show.
Yeah,
okay. All right. Here we go.
You sure did.
Who's going to win? Winner. Who's going to be the winner?
Doc Proto.
Doc Proto, who's our current leader of our contest right now.
Yeah?
He is the leader of the contest. Reggie's on his heels. Anthony Tollison's in third place now. Dan Lee, Dan Henneman, but everybody's chasing Doc Proto. So,
all
Doc,
right.
Well done. You get a prize.
All right. One last comment. I want to say Stuart Anderson said the Cards were still the better team today, even in the loss.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
They had 2 minutes of substandard play. We had nearly 4 quarters. I'm going to disagree. Vikings won the scoreboard.
You know, where Stuart Anderson owns a string of restaurants, steak restaurants, so he always gets a call over you.
Really? Okay.
Stuart Anderson's Black Angus. You never heard of that? Come on, Ted.
No, I have not. No.
Okay.
No.
Really?
All right.
Well, tell me why you disagree with him.
Because the Vikings ended up winning. They executed plays. They played their best football and executed when they absolutely had to and won the game. And the Cardinals collapsed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you play better than the other team for 57 minutes or 45 minutes or 50 minutes. It doesn't matter.
That's a good
What
argument.
is the score at the end of the game?
That's a good argument. But 10% of the time you're going to win, not the 90%. Usually the better team that plays like the Cardinals today wins.
Usually, but when the Vikings needed to make plays, they did, and the Cardinals didn't. And the Vikings won.
It's a fair argument. I'm going to give both of you a prize. Stuart Anderson, you get a prize. Ted Glover, you get a prize because you've had an awful 24 hours. You go in there. You get. I'm going to send you a bottle of spice rum.
Get a hold of Ruby. She'll let you into the prize vault.
Yeah. All right, Stuart Anderson. Yeah, Stuart Anderson, you get a prize. Get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report with DrewandTed@gmail.com. I don't want a prize. The only prize I want is Ryan Day getting fired. All right,
and a bottle of Captain Morgan spice rum.
Yeah. All right. So, any last words before we get out of here, Chris?
No, I mean, five wins in a row for the second time this year, 10-2, cruising toward the postseason. Yeah, and the Kirk Cousins revenge game next week. Hopefully that if there was a game where we were going to get a blowout, it'd be fun if it was this one. But I don't know if this team can do it. We'll see if it happens. But yeah, we'll be back again this week and talking about Atlanta.
Drew.
We won. They didn't. Go to hell, Cardinals. You can go
There you
join
go.
Titans and all the rest of them. Sit your ass on the bench and watch us sit at 10-2. 10-2.
That's right.
Gives me a semi. Everything Chris just said.
Vikings are 10-2. We welcome old friend Kirk Cousins back to U.S. Bank next week.
Crush him. You got to crush him.
That's right. At least one of my football teams won this weekend, so it's not a complete and total disaster. For Drew, for Chris, for Ruby, I'm Ted. Skol Vikes. We'll see you on for our studio show and live after the Falcons game next Sunday. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
So you're not happy.